Hello, good morning and welcome to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. The 24-hour economy debate will examine the merits in the dispute. Why should there be a dispute about seeking to have a 24-hour economy? And the staples import ban, rice, guts, bladders and stomach of animals, poultry, animal and vegetable oils, margarine, fruit juices, soft drink, mineral water, noodles and pasta, ceramic tiles, corrugated paper and paperboard, mosquito coil and insecticides, soaps and detergents. So, independent Ghana, for how many years? They didn't add toothpick in the list. Toothpick, we import them. Motor cars, iron and steel, cement, polymers, plastics and plastic products, fish, sugar. We have a sugar factory, don't we? Clothing and apparel, biscuits, canned tomatoes, Polugu Tomato Factory, or in Zwarungu. I was a kid when I heard about those factories. What's happened? Okay, so there's an attempt to restrict the importation of some of these items. Good move or wrong move? When we don't produce 1% of the poultry that we consume, yeah, that's a fact. We are the biggest importers of poultry from Europe. We will also make time to check if the matter of the speaker's bungalow is just one of a botched attempts to sell it, or it was just false alarm. I'm Samson Ladia Yenini. We'll be right back to deal with the vexed matters.
Businesses connect with their dream.
My way insurance,
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire way, you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the rock.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudangwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
Happy people! Seven. To welcome the new season, give your mansion a new look. Missy, get your house renovated. Doormaster Saving promo is on. Our doors ranges from exterior and interior steel security door, bulletproof and armor door, wooden metal and panel door, glass and flash door. Edu Doormaster, the widest range of paint solution awaits you for your acrylic, emulsion, and animal paint. We also have in stock road marking paint, marine paint, waterproofing, damp-proof paint. Sisawo bathroom hall, more look fresh. Your luxurious toilet seat, basin, taps, on your latest vanities are Papa B. Visit the Doormaster. Promo ends on 15 December. Call 0542-745-222. Henmon office of Pobimon Tobu, Accra Kumasi Highway, Obeye, opposite the Forest Reserve, Sulumfianco, ACP, opposite Besham Temple, Tema Community 5, at the Pajanchen Hua, and Sawamedua. Doormaster Saving promo is on. At the low.
Since inception, almost 100% of Ashesi University students have found jobs, starting businesses, or gone into graduate school within 6 months of graduation. From Accra to Nairobi,
and our toll-free number
Ashesi graduates are leading successful careers. If you dream of a
when you're
rewarding
little,
life in career,
days are extremely
Ashesi
busy.
Education prepares you for just
Work,
learn more about applying to Ashesi at
traffic jams,
www.ashesi.gh.
Yes, my name is Papa Starter. Run away.
conference calls. Luckily, our mom is here to take good care of us. Day by day baby and day by day kids. And they're naturally active and greedy. Our skin is hydrated, soothed, and protected all day long. Yes. Oh.
Hello, CEOs. What an opportune time for a blissful festive night of entertainment, goodwill, high-impact CEO peer learning, value-driven CEO connections and business opportunities. It's the 9th Ghana CEO Business Cocktail, inspiring, informing, and connecting possibilities for over 200 topmost CEOs, captains of industry, policymakers, investors, and ambassadors. Happening on the 7th of December, 2023 at Pomona, Osu, Accra, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Be inspired by the impactful panelists and expert insights on the theme, the CEO Imperative. How are CEOs responding to the new economic reality? The CEO Imperative series will provide critical answers and actions to help CEOs reframe the future of their organizations and position for growth. For reservations and inquiries, call 024-4687-222 or email ceococktail@gmail.com. Powered by Ghana CEO Network in partnership with Deloitte, GIPC, SIGA, Media General, and Multimedia Group. The 9th Ghana CEO Business Cocktail, connecting possibilities. Terms and conditions apply.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And here is something stake. Lee Kuan Yew, make our system clean. Thomas Hobbes, examining the natural conditions of man in the Leviathan, conceives a concession that, quote, where there is no common power, there is no law, end quote. And that when we give power or rights to someone, it is a voluntary act, the object of which is some good, the benefits that we legitimately expect in return. This is the covenant or contract we enter with our leaders at various levels. And we expect that they will not breach it by doing what does not benefit us as a society. He postulates, I'm talking about Thomas Hobbes, that, quote, the multitude so united in one person is called a commonwealth, or in Latin, civitas. The mortal God, that's what we make our presidents and our leaders, the mortal God to which we owe under the immortal God our defense, our peace and defense, end quote. Cicero, the Roman philosopher, defines this as a political community, sovereign and independent. Now here's the bottom line of all of this philosophy. We entrust political power, our sovereign will, to empower leaders to whom we may become subjects, so that they may use our collective means, strength, and power to secure our greatest good, a good life. Dear leaders, do not lose sense of the purpose of the power we donate to you. Lee Kuan Yew, a man of integrity and a visionary leader, used this position of power to create a decent and meritocratic society. He transformed a basket case of a third world into first world status in 30 years. Yes, that's possible in our democracy, even better. Yes, that was a country written off by commentators, and Ghana was well ahead of Singapore in economic development. There is no need brooding over the lost decades of corrupt leadership in this IMF Ghana. The ultimate, that the good society, is still possible if we as individuals and a collective do the right things and insist on clean leaders. I mean clean leaders. Not where we yearn to elect people we know are very corrupt and dirty. People whose source of wealth we do not know. Right sources. If we insist on clean leaders, those are leaders who will make our system clean and meritocratic society where we live in decency. In Singapore today, politics is not about the insult fest that we are treated to in this Ghana. Poor IMF Ghana. It's not about the mundane, the lies and the vain promises of one this, one that. Political campaign is still run on ideas with a focus on character, leadership of integrity, because that is what guarantees progress.
They have to be honest. The politics have to be honest. honest, the people have to be clean and honest also. If you are not honest, if you are not clean, if you have a black mark, whether people know it or not, please stay out of politics. And so we need honest politicians, and we also need voters who can tell the difference between people who are honest and people who are not. And I was very, very surprised yesterday that here on this spot yesterday to hear Dr. Chee Soon Juan say, reputation is temporary, but character is permanent. I agree. I think Dr. Chee has every reason to know that character is permanent. Doesn't change. We cannot have corruption in Singapore. We cannot have wrongdoing in the government or in high places in Singapore. That's why we have the CPIB reporting to me as PM, and if I don't give approval to the CPIB to investigate somebody, the CPIB can go to the President and ask the President for approval. President says yes, CPIB can proceed against the PM. That's why we have the Auditor General's office to keep the government straight, to keep our statutory board straight, and once in a while to find out whether the town councils are straight or not straight. These are the PAP standards, and these also have to be the opposition standards. Just because you don't wear white doesn't mean you shouldn't be white or needn't be white. That's what is different about Singapore. I can show it to other people. Can they do it? Not so easy. That's what we must always keep precious in Singapore. So maybe that is why when Mr. Lee Kuan Yew had his 90th birthday, we had a little celebration in Parliament. And he was too weak to make a speech, but he came, he joined us in the members' room. We made a birthday cake, we sang a song, blew the candles, and he made a small speech. He talked about only one thing. He said, remember, keep our system clean. I should note that that was not just PAP MPs having a celebration. That was all of the MPs having a celebration, including the opposition MPs. So the PAP MPs took note of what he said. I hope the opposition MPs also took note of what he said. Keep our system clean. You may be running the government. You may be running a ministry. You can be in a stat board. You can be in a town council. Doesn't matter. Whatever level you are, uphold high standards, keep it clean. And don't say, I didn't go to jail, I'm okay.
The British High Commissioner, Harriet Thompson, talks about what we know just too well. That, quote, corruption is one of the things holding Ghana back. If all the money that comes into Ghana were used for the purpose of which it was intended, Ghana would be making faster progress, end quote. In Singapore, Galamsey will not survive. You know why? It is those truly behind it and not those hungry hirelings that will be jailed. That's the standard there. Those high up are those who get jailed for the corruption that they engineer. If you are a civil servant, do what is right and insist on right. You may be alone, do it. If you are a judge, do justice according to law. Justice without ill will or affection, fear or favor. That's the oath you take. And yes, if you're a journalist, like I do, and many in this country look up to the media to help make things right, do not owe a politician, my dear friends in this fraternity, do not owe a politician, however poorly you are paid. If you are paid by a politician, you are simply not worthy to represent the people, because that's what journalism is about. And you cannot do the Article 162 serious job of being free at all times to uphold the principles, provisions, and objectives of the Constitution, and to uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people of Ghana. You just can't do it. Those of you who are being paid by politicians, you know you can't do it. You sold your soul. You are not worthy. Aristotle notes in the Nicomachean Ethics that, quote, wealth is not the good which we are trying to find, for it is only useful. That is, it is a means to something else, end quote. Think about it. And that is my take. We'll be right back to canvass the very critical issues we have tabled for you today. This is a discussion that we should have been having about 3 decades, 6 decades ago. Importing these things, toothpick, how proud the country we are. Today, 2023, is when we are thinking of banning these. Okay, we'll be right back.
My way insurance, my way.
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policyholder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire way, you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
Save big to welcome the new season. Give your mansion a new look. Messy. Get your house renovated. Doormaster Save Big promo is on. Our doors ranges from exterior and interior steel security door, bulletproof and armor door, wooden metal and panel door, glass and flash door. Edu Doormaster. The widest range of paint solution awaits you for your acrylic, emulsion, and animal paint. We also have in stock road marking paint, marine paint, waterproofing, damp-proof paint, bathroom hall, look fresh. Your luxurious toilet seat, basins, taps, on your latest vanities are Papa B. Visit the Doormaster. Promo ends on 15 December. Call 0542-745-222. Henmon office of Pobi Montobu. Accra Kumasi Highway. Obeye. Opposite the Forest Reserve. Sulunfianko. ACP. Opposite Besham Temple. Tema Community 5. At the Pajanchen Hua. And Sawamedua. Doormaster saving promo is on. At the low.
Prepare for an exhilarating experience at the main fair of the 2023 EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Join us at the Accra International Conference Center from Thursday, November 23rd to Sunday, November 26th, 2023. Doors will be open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day to welcome you. This year, we are diving into the theme of home ownership, exploring the nuances between affordability, comfort, and luxury. Whether you're embarking on your home ownership journey or looking for upgrades, this fair is your destination for all things housing. Encounter a comprehensive assembly of stakeholders from Ghana's housing and construction sectors. Engage the experts across the spectrum of home creation and enhancement. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project from Cities and Habitats. Rent to own. And sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Constructions Limited, where quality meets value. Global Lighting, your solution to quality lighting. Syntex Tank, Air Strong, Air Tough. Springfield Estates, where dreams are built. Virtual Security, complete security solution. DBS, your roof experts. Virtual InfoSec Africa, security solutions by design. Saint Gobain, making the world a better plan. Clifton Homes, beautiful homes, wise investments. The Kissington Heights, Airport City, Kumasi, by HDG Homes Limited.
Starbites, Pinkberry, and Frankie's Osu. Go digital at www.imageprogh.com or dial star 711 star 11 star 25 hash. Supported by Naplands Car Rentals, Ghana Tourism Authority, IPMC, our media partners, and proudly brought to you by Ebony Condoms and Stanbic Bank.
Because all lizards lie prostrate. How can one tell which lizard suffers from belly?
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. Here in the studio, Nana Kumia is member New Patriotic Party Communications Team. George Ricketts Hagan is MP, Cape Coast South, and former Deputy Minister for Finance. Dr. Theo Echampong is economist and political risk analyst. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for making time to join us on Newsfile.
Good morning.
Right. So, President Mahama has been talking about a 24-hour economy. And Bawumia has had some response for him. It's obvious that Bawumia miscalculated his response because he's been taken on very badly by many people for how he responded to the president. The former president. So let's listen to the two of them and get into the studio to check out how exactly this economy with lazy civil servants and everybody else who go to work, sit, fidget, do practically nothing and wait, watch the clock until it is 3 and they are checking out of the office. Nobody is watching over them. How such an economy needs to work 24 hours. Listen to the former president and Dr. Bawumia.
But we know that there will be obstacles. One, you need to provide security.
because people must be able to work in the night without armed robbers going to attack them. So it means that we must provide more police officers. We must provide all those companies with security so that they're able to do their work. But if we have to provide more police officers and security men, it means we will employ more young people to join the security services to be able to make the 24-hour economy work. And so it doesn't mean that if already one or two industries are doing it or one or two companies are doing it, we cannot provide incentives for more of them to do it so that they can provide opportunity for more young people to get work. And so it is our policy, we'll implement it. It's not by force. When we come, we'll open it. The initiative is available. Any company that wants to work a shift system and work more than the 8 hours that they normally work, from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, they will sign on and we'll give them tax incentives. Because if you work the extra shift, you will be given tax breaks. Aside from that, you'll be provided with security and everything that you need to be able to employ more people. And so it's a project that we will adopt. We have a group of experts working on it. We'll roll out the policy, and companies that voluntarily want to sign on will be allowed to do so.
Because of digitalization, the banks, you can transfer money 24 hours. You can receive money 24 hours. Isn't it? So he doesn't understand his own policy. It does not make sense. And I want you to vote in 2024 for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I will bring a new vision. I will bring new policies. And we will transform this country. John Mahama is the past.
Right. So after the reaction, many have written theses, long articles taking on Bawumia for his reaction. Among others, you had Professor Ransford Jampo asking Dr. Bawumia to focus and stop what he was doing. He said, focus on your campaign, not Mohammed's. Then you had Dr. Sada Idrisu say 24-hour economy. Stop throwing shade at John Mahama and tell Ghanaians about your economic policy. There is also the Chalog. It's a group of local government people, and they say they endorse Mohammed's 24-hour economy. John Jinapo says 24-hour economy. Bawumia chop bar analysis unfortunate. Eduji Tamaklo says Mahama is determined to introduce 24-hour economy. How exactly do you introduce it? That's what we're going to find out. Dr. Nimoy Thompson, Bawumia, chop bars, and the 24 economy, and several other people and social media have been busy saying that the Vice President got it all wrong. So let's begin with the man from the NDC. What's the big idea?
Thank you very much, Samson, this morning. And my brother, Nana, been a while.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Good morning, Samson, yourself, and your viewers and those who are listening to us on various devices. It's actually unfortunate. I mean, when I heard Dr. Bawumia, someone of his intellect, being an economist, arguably claiming to be the father of digitization and digitalization, would have seen that the tools that he has been championing itself are enablers for 24-hour economy. And therefore, digitization and digitalization by themselves is not the ultimate goal, but to be able to use them as enablers to expand the economy.
That's exactly what he said.
Well, that's not what he said. I will. Now we are looking at, and he was saying that he said something that the 24-hour economy is already here. I mean, hospitals and all the other, essential services are doing.
You can
them.
buy your electricity credit, midnight, and we all do that. So that's what he means.
You've got to look at, we are looking at 3 economies where 2 of them are actually a subset of a bigger economy. We have essential service economy, which by law, basically, the people who can't even go on strike. Those are the people with the hospitals, the electricity, the water, and what have you. That is an essential economy that in any economy that you go to, those already exist because they are essential services. They have not, they have been deliberately put out there by law so that these services will be given to the people or the citizens. So any economy you go to, that services is already there.
Right.
Now, there is also a digital economy, which is the one Dr. Bawumia has been talking about. That enables you to, even from the comfort of your own home, do transactions, whether it's in the comfort of your own or your home is the office. You can actually work around the clock, 24 hours, moving money and what have you. Then there is a broader one, which is the 24-hour economy. All the 2 economies that I have described to you work, within 24 hours. But then the broader one, which is the 24-hour economy, is the economy that you deliberately put economic strategies in place and measures in place and incentives on both sides. This has been done in Japan and other places, in both sides, where the suppliers of the 24 hours are incentivized in the form of tax reliefs, stimulus packages for it to make attractive. Now, on the other side, you can also induce demand, because that is when there is an abundant supply and there is no demand for it, 24-hour economy will not work. So there has to be some type of inducement. And you can induce demand. When I hear people say, where is the demand? You can actually induce demand. Now, it comes with challenges. So as I said, essential economy will eventually be part of 24-hour economy, and digital economy, which by its design is a 24-hour economy, will also be in there. Now, you need measures, as I've mentioned, deliberate measures. There are going to be challenges, but you've got to look at the challenges, like President Mahama just said, security and other things. Law enforcement, the police, is a 24-hour and it's an essential service. So the much broader 24-hour economy that we are talking about is not the essential services that already exist. But
Dr. Bawumia says you cannot legislate a 24-hour economy into being.
As I said to you.
Which is a fact.
No, hold on. Yes, it's a fact. As I said to you, I said an economy that you legislate for it to be operational is an essential economy. That's what we're talking about. Digital economy, you basically don't need, people could do whatever they want in their room. Now, but if you put a deliberate, and I didn't talk about laws, I said deliberate economic strategy doesn't need laws, because what you are doing is to make people voluntarily want to participate in this, and they can only do so if you incentivize them. Now, what that will do is that if the 24-hour economy comes into existence, even the essential economy and the digital economy will also be enhanced. But those measures may include certain things that you have to do that doesn't. If challenge is a security, then you've got to fix the security. Otherwise, the 24-hour economy will not work. When we say 24-hour economy, it doesn't mean that everybody will have to be working 24 hours. You've got to create a distinction between a public service and the private sector. The public service does not run a factory. If you go to the ministries, as you have said, yes, people come to work whatever time they want and all that. You have to strengthen the 8-hour economy to give you the foundation to build a 24-hour economy. And we've got to look at this as a vision and a much broader picture,
in fact,
to be able to address the imbalance we have
in the public
with
service,
debt and GDP.
It's notorious that there are people who go to work. The government pays salaries but does not have money for operational activity.
Yeah, that is another thing we are in the public service.
So you mentioned when there is abundant supply.
Yeah.
Those who are doing the 8 hours are not producing in abundance.
I'm coming there. That's what I'm saying. You have to segregate it. You know, if you look at it, like a blanket thing, you will get it all wrong. You've got to cure the things that you need as a foundation to make the 24-hour economy work. Public service, they provide service to the private sector or the citizens. The 24-hour economy in that regard will be supported by digital economy. People don't have to be at certain offices to provide you service. You need a skeleton staff to be able to handle some of these things. The public service is over-bloated. We all know that. Since our time, ghost names, this friends and family and all that. People are being paid for doing nothing. There is no productivity in the public space. As you said, people are paid salary. They don't get goods and services. So where do you expect the productivity to come from? So if you are going to be doing this, you have to look at it holistically. We will have to reduce the public service to the number that will be able to provide a service.
If you are talking about economy that is essentially digitally driven, virtually, doesn't sound new to me.
Exactly.
What's the new thing you are talking about?
No, I'm not talking about it being new. I'm using them as a complement, enabler. I'm giving you the enablers that will make 24-hour economy work. And you can have this digitalization that you have heard about it for some years now, not doing as much as it can. And that if it is proper structured, with this proper strategy, these enablers can be used more effectively and efficiently than is being used at the moment. We are creating a technology that we are not having the full import of because we are doing.
So what are the deliberate things that a John Mahama NDC administration will do for a 24-hour economy?
It's right here. It goes into KT Hammond's stuff that he presented. We have a number of items here that we all know. Look, this proposal, for me, is the right way to go. This KT Hammond's proposal, right way to go, but problematic because of the approach that they are using. You and I know that we import more than we export. We are, Nana Akufo-Addo, when he came, he told us about Gettysburg economy. We were designed by the British or our colonial masters to be able to send more materials to them in terms of export and receive what we eat in consumption from them. Now we consume so much so that things that, look, when I was a deputy minister of finance, that's when I heard that Ghana doesn't produce toothpick. 8 years today, the story hasn't changed. You go to meetings, conferences, and we are singing the same tune. When are we going to start? So you need, before you can do what he is doing, you need a deliberate policy to be able to, look, let's look at all these items. KT Hammond will not be able to tell me probably how much money we spend in bringing all these things in, the data, we bring all these things in. And if we are going to tell the balance, to change our balance of payment, how much rice can we do at this stage? And therefore, what we can't do then becomes the deficit that we need to put some rules on in terms of how it comes in. But if you just come in and say that you are not importing, we are not importing rice, we need an import license. Going back to
one of the things your administration will do if you win power for a 24-hour economy will be to impose bans on importation of certain essentials.
Not immediately. You need a plan to work that. What I'm saying is that we don't produce enough rice here. So what is it that we can do to be self-sufficient in rice? What this whole thing is, it's about import substitution. This whole document is about one economic phrase, import substitution. This is what this is, nothing else. And so the idea is that we have to get ourselves to become self-sufficient in all these things. What will lead to that? That will lead to setting up these companies, setting up these farms, employing people, working around the clock to be able to get these things done. Once we're able to produce, let's say
these companies that you want to get in a night economy, have been around, and the day economy, they have collapsed under the day economy. They are not working.
Yes, because we haven't got any deliberate policy to do this thing.
So you fix what you have to fix during the day before you talk about it.
That's what when I was making the submission, I said to you, we need to fix the day economy as a foundation for building the night economy. That's what I said to you.
Okay, just hold your thoughts there, and let's Nana Kumia, I'm sure that you will agree with me that Dr. Bawumia didn't expect that he would take such a bashing for his response. And you listen to people in the NPP and in government, they seem to tone down and not take the particular, path that Dr. Bawumia took.
Well, thank you, Samson, and let me wish our audience a good Saturday morning. You see, Samson, the questions that you ask my brother, Ricketts Hagan, are essentially the issues that Dr. Bawumia raised. That's all. The same issues. And in fact, after your questions, there's probably no need for me to speak. Because those are the issues. And those who disagree with Dr. Bawumia, what is the basis of their disagreement? John Mahama announces a 24-hour economy. Dr. Bawumia says, but we already have a 24-hour economy. There is no legal barrier for any business that wants to operate 24 hours. There's no legal barrier, there's no social barrier. It is the presence of opportunity, demand. And if the demand is there, businesses would meet that demand. And if they have to operate more than 12 hours or 10 hours to meet that demand, business would take that decision. But as we speak, our economy has no time limit. Businesses operate up to 6 p.m. Some operate up to 8 p.m. Some operate up to 10 p.m. Some operate up to 6 a.m., depending on the opportunities that are available to where they are. Multimedia operates 24 hours because it is profitable for you to operate beyond 6 p.m. The advertising flows. In fact, after midnight, some pastors have come to tell you there's a market out there, and so they've come and taken your broadcasting after midnight, and you are charging them for it. Many radio stations operate 24 hours because there's economic opportunity, but it's not all. It's not all the radio stations. Those that have economic opportunity or commercial opportunity, they operate 24 hours, like multimedia. Those that don't, because of some factors, they have closing times. So, Dr. Bawumia is asking, what is new? Is it a new thing that is coming into this country? Because we already have a 24-hour economy. Yesterday I was at Tudu. I have a terminal there at Tudu. That terminal never closes. The Tudu terminal never closes. But we have some terminals in this country that close because the economic or commercial opportunity is not there.
He's referring to STC terminals. State transport.
So what you need to do is to enhance the provision of services, public services, that would expand economic opportunity. It includes security. So when you have more police numbers and the police are more efficient, it will provide opportunity for people to set up a business. Street lighting. When I was a member of parliament, I did some street lighting from Swan Lake to what they call the Old Stop. A lot of street lights, very bright. And you know what happened? Kenke selling started on that stretch. Kenke selling. And they were selling the kenke round the clock. But you know street lighting, some of them will last 4 months, some of them 5 months. When those lights go off, the activity ceases, and they will come to me and say, Honorable, the lights are off, we can't work after 8 p.m. So just lighting. My brother here talked about the new initiative, the ban, the restriction that government intends to put on imports. If well done and there's consensus, obviously this will inure to the benefit of industry because the local market would expand. And so some industries that can take advantage would expand their operating hours. So the bottom line is that the economy 24 hours already exists. What you need to do is keep delivering public services efficiently, and people will respond. But roads, for example, roads is so crucial.
Yes, Banana. If it is not the usual sloganeering, but a policy, deliberate, that will be useful to even induce our minds and, everybody get our energies to think about it consciously, that we have a 24-hour economy. I'm a lawyer. Countless times, I work late into the night. I can work to the next day, the next morning. But I can't go to court. I work in my office. I can't go to court around that time because the courts are shut. So, if it's a deliberate policy, it will be good.
If it's a deliberate policy, the court should open 24 hours.
Exactly.
Now, if you lawyers demand court services 24 hours, not just you, Samson, but if you lawyers, you are getting briefs from abroad, you have clients, multinational clients, and so then if it's 9 p.m. here, it's 12 noon in Tokyo or something, and they're demanding services, and you lawyers create that demand because the business has expanded, you are taking on multinational businesses and so on. Well, the courts will respond.
Where there is talk, this particular one, where there is talk about demand in the courts, you can say that is an exception because there's demand. And we have a backlog of cases. The cases are delayed. And if you get extra time, then you should be able to clear the backlog.
But you would agree that if the court system, the process is more efficient, and these delays, these technicalities that you lawyers employ, and people can get justice faster, but you see, productive activity is not an end in itself. Nobody produces kelewele by the street corner for itself. You do production because there is a demand. So the only reason why the kelewele seller at the corner is not doing 24 hours is because after some hours, the demand is not there. If the demand is there, the opportunity is there, let's say somebody goes to set up a nightclub in the vicinity, and so there's people moving in and out of that area at all hours. The kelewele seller would then operate in the night as well. You see? And you can't legislate somebody setting up a nightclub. Somebody is going to set up a nightclub because he's seen that in this neighborhood, the location is good. There are a lot of young people in this area, and when I set up a nightclub here, it will be good. So to set it up. So the bottom line is that you already have a 24-hour economy. If you improve the delivery of public services, which would create economic opportunities, business will respond. So when we bring it up as some new idea, that is a game changer. Baumia will ask you those questions, but we already have a 24-hour economy. Digitalization, that my brother mentioned, now enables you to buy your electricity at all hours, to do banking transactions at all hours. So digitalization is and my brother used the term that is very enabler. Anything that public service that is provided, if the public service become more efficient, they will create the enabler. So the bottom line is that if you want to make public services more efficient, you want to make the security services more efficient, say so. And show us how you are going to do it.
All right.
But when you come and say you are going to create a 24-hour, it's like something that doesn't exist.
Right.
And
Let's hear.
That is the problem.
Let's hear from Dr. Tue Champong. And Dr. Tue Champong, together with Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, and several others, including Kweku Ntwebwe Siakon, they took on Kofi Bentil really hard when Kofi Bentil suggested that, quote, to make people work 24 hours, you must first be able to make them work 8 hours. We haven't achieved that yet. Let's work on that first. Don't go chasing waterfalls. And you guys came at him so hard. Well, we have heard that 24-hour economy does not actually mean working in the night and so on. Tell us what you think about this, which is going to be one of the drivers of the 2024 elections. Dr. Tue Champong.
Everyone. And yeah, the campaigning for 2024 has already started, as you can see, with the vigorous policy debates that's happening, across the board. The thing is, the idea itself of a 24-hour economy is laudable, and I make no exceptions or mince words about that. The devil, of course, is in the details, right? And what exactly we want to attain by it. But if you come from the fundamental premise that you want to create more jobs and expand the economic basket or net, then allowing more Ghanaians to work either during the day and or at night on rotating shifts or on weekends is something that is laudable. And again, remember that the world of work, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic, has actually changed, dramatically. There are like three kind of key factors that are driving this. One, the economy itself changing in the sense that you're seeing a big growth of the services sector. And within the services sector of the economy, in Ghana's case, actually the largest share of our economy with about 45% of GDP. You have a high prevalence for certain non-standard work routines. So some of your panelists in the studio have been talking about, for example, people selling maybe kenke on the streets and entertainment and you name it. The other factor is to do with the changing demography of the people. So you've got a bit more youth And then the third factor being, technology, digitalization, etc., making all of this happening. We have some elements of a 24-hour economy that is already at play in Ghana and indeed in many other countries in Africa. But what we haven't had over the period is a deliberate effort or plan to actually connect these at a systems level that allows you to operate and run an economy both day and night. And so if you look at examples from other jurisdictions, you take, for example, in London here, in the UK, hitherto the tube or the underground didn't run 24 hours a day. But they saw that there was some latent demand in there. And by allowing people to run and to use the tube at night and ensuring safety, you suddenly had what hitherto was a small demand metamorphosing or booming into a much, much bigger economic opportunity, which ends up creating jobs and expanding the economy. In Australia as well, you have a similar thing at play. And in fact, in Australia, the government of New South Wales, which is where Sydney is, they even have got a 24-hour economy, strategy. And again, it's something similar in trying to create more opportunities and ultimately enhancing jobs and enhancing or deepening productivity. Even in Ghana, you can go back as far as the 1950s. I've seen newspaper clippings, and recently as far as 2016, when I was doing my research for this, where one of the foremost industrialists in the country, the chief executive officer of Leroy Cables, I think the name is Kate Kote-Papafiu.
That's right.
Actually put on more businesses, and here I'm quoting the news article, especially those in the manufacturing sector, to operate a 24-hour cycle to help improve productivity. So the idea itself is not bad, and it is laudable. The question that I think we ought to ask and interrogate is, what would it take to actually deliver on this 24-hour economy where people can operate day, night, shifts, etc.? And this goes back to the policy incentives that are at play, and importantly, addressing the bottlenecks that businesses currently face that is hindering them from expanding, right? So for example, if you go to Tema and you take some of the factories there, it is not because there's no demand. The demand, the latent demand is there. But some of these factories are either underproducing or some are actually lying idle. Why? Because the business environment is constraining. So you've got high costs, you've got high taxes, electricity tariffs that are high, and ultimately what that means is that it is far more easier for some of these businesses to either shut shop and import the things from China and other places because it's relatively cheaper than to produce using either local materials and local factor inputs. So I think the conversation for me then really becomes, what should we do to anchor and to drive the expansion of services, the expansion of manufacturing, and the expansion of even the agricultural sector, so that we can run a 24/7 economy, and that by that manner you create the jobs that are needed. In fact, you look at the MPP's own manifesto, something. You go to the 2024, the budget, the 2024 budget, look at paragraph 449 of the budget. And in that 449, 450, 460, the MPP itself talks about creating what they call a night and sports economy, right? And here they want to leverage on the opportunities that have come because of the year of return and beyond the return to deepen tourism and also, deepen people participating in that night economy. So you go to Osu or Oxford and all of these places. So for me, the issue is one of semantics. But the important thing, I think, is really fundamentally, what do you do in terms of policy incentives to ensure that the people that are manufacturing, one, able to utilize local resources for input, and number two, ultimately are able to run 24/7 such that you're able to meet the demand. I've heard people make the demand argument, and I don't fully buy it. And I don't buy it because demand can be created. Demand can be induced in terms of the policy incentives that you offer. And especially in our case, if you look at manufacturing, I have already indicated that some of the companies are actually underproducing. And the reason why they're underproducing or lying idle is not because there's no demand. It's just because the whole business environment, the taxes, the electricity, and all of that really, is hurting them. So it makes sense for them to import. So really, we need to unpack this 24-hour economy, and for me, look at really the policy incentives that are at play. And this is why I think the conversation ought to go.
So do you say...
Not to rubbish it and to say that, it's a bad idea and it wouldn't work.
So you don't say we need to fix the lack of productivity or productive work within the 8 hours first before we think about sort of doing a policy of 24 hours?
I don't buy that because you are presenting almost like a binary option to us, right? That you got to do this or the other. Both can be addressed at the same time. You can increase productivity in the day economy, in the public services and things like that. At the same time, whilst deepening, right, the night economy or people participating in that night economy, because there are tremendous opportunities, again, within that, right? If you look at some of the sectors that can benefit from this night economy beyond just what happens in the day, we're talking hotels, we're talking restaurants, we're talking arts, entertainment, transport, storage. I've talked about manufacturing. In the health sector, you've got pharmacies and the likes that can run on, 24/7. Some of them are already doing that.
Exactly.
But they can be helped to expand because the latent demand.
I hear the refrain.
Wholesale.
I hear the word night used over and again, and yet we are being told that it's such a lazy thing to reduce the 24-hour economy to do performing activities in the night. Dr. Nimoy Thompson, for example, says, for some crazy reasons, the adversaries have reduced the idea of the 24-hour economy to having fun at night. Hence, in the 2024 budget, the finance minister tried to upstage Mr. Mahama by promising everything from, quote, a night and sport economy, end quote. That's page 92 of the budget statement. To
paragraph 449 to 450.
Correct, thank you. To the night economy and tourism, end quote. To the development of Black Star Square into, quote, City Light Center to drive the night economy in Accra and create a welcoming nighttime environment. And also, finally, to the use of astroturfs to create, quote, vibrant night economies, end quote, in their host communities. For the records, the word night appears only once in the 2023 budget in reference to patrols by immigration officers and so on. He says that's not what it is. It's not just about a night economy. It's not about a night economy.
No. So what Nimoy is saying, and which is absolutely right, is that the night economy is not just the entertainment bit. It's not just, creating sports centers and people going to do, call it fun, right? There's more to that, which is the import that Nimoy is saying and what I am also saying.
Okay.
That the entertainment bit is just a component of the night economy. And that if you look at it more holistically, there's a whole range of services and that can be provided and would be captured under that night economy. So I talked about hospitality. I've talked about industry, especially manufacturing, because for me, that is one of the areas that would allow us to, again, add value to our produce and at the same time also create, jobs. Very important. So you're killing two birds with one stone. In the health sector, you've got opportunities in the even administrative and support services. So people setting up, business processing centers that run, 24/7. You may recall during the Kupo era, there was this strong push to get Ghana to become a BPO outsourcing center. Some of the companies came and left because, again, the environment was choking or constraining.
All right.
So the night economy goes beyond just, creating just,
I'm going to share a few messages with you, and then we'll hear from the TUC, and I'll take just quick, 2 minutes concluding comment from my guests in the studio. We'll take a break and return to look at why we should not be importing Yemwadie. Okay, so my guest in the studio, Kweku George Ricketts Hagan, is MP, Cape Coast South, and former Deputy Minister for Finance. Nana Komia is member, New Patriotic Party Communications. Dr. Theo Champong is economist and political risk analyst. Now, here are some of the views that you have shared. I want them to hear the views that you have shared, and then I'll take their concluding comments. Now, Dr. Kwame Sapongesedu says that I disagree with Nana Komia. If we are waiting for demand before we expand our economic scope, then we are not serious. We must learn to be purposeful in creating demand through the creation of an enabling environment. Apple combined a phone, a music player, and a map to deliver the iPhone at a time when there was no demand for such a composite device. Today, the demand for smartphones has obliterated the analog phone. Then Yakubu Ibn Chambers, he says the intrinsic link between a 24-hour economy and digitalization cannot be craftily separated. Correct. Inherent in a 24-hour economy are digitalization, urbanization, etc. Brothers and sisters, Ghana lags behind the world 1,000 miles, and the electorate cannot afford the luxury of watching politicians wax lyrical without the blue promises and compete for novelty of ideas. Ghana is replete with great developmental ideas, but the lack of implementation has been its bane. Thanks, Yakubu Ibn Chambers. Musa Abatoa in Asawasi says, Dr. Theo Champong has given very good example of a 24-hour economy, which is a deliberate policy incentive to boost productivity. And that's what John Mahama is talking about, and it's refreshing. 24/7 economy will curb trade deficit, unemployment. Those rubbishing such a policy proposal are lacking economic capacity to address unemployment and balance trade deficit. That's a rather long one, Mr. Mensah. That's a rather long one. I'm sorry, I can't read all of it. But you say it is not true. The fact that businesses operate up to midnight does not mean we have a 24-hour economy. The 24-hour economy is not a chance event. It is the result of deliberate effort. Many people share that view. Prince Henry in Koforidua says, Dr. Bawumia is confused with John Mahama's 24-hour economy, thus comparing it to chop bar economy. Dr. Bawumia and the NPP must tell us what they can do and stop ridiculing John Mahama's 24-hour economy. His comments are very disheartening, embarrassing, and it seems to me that he doesn't have the basic knowledge of macroeconomics. But you can't say that. Can't say Dr. Bawumia lacks basic, knowledge of macroeconomics. He's an economist, and not a small one at that. Dr. Osai says that as far back as 2018, if we recall, he called for this for the public sector so that the enabling framework will be created before extending it to the private sector. It is doable, except that we shall require the details to enable all of us make inputs into it for the greater success or good of our economy. If you check Ghana Work, you see when Dr. Eric Osai spoke about this in 2018, he said, introduce double track in public sector. Then, all right, so that's a complaint from a party. Then this one from LGD Holy. What is the essence of working for 24 hours when there is little or no consumer to consume the products? Demand drives supply. It's simple. Yao Ano, 24 economy is the best economic policy I have ever heard in Ghana. Honestly, not a sloganeering type of initiative, and it will provide a lot of employment, security, positive economic growth. AOK Obeng says the most forward-looking policy ever, a policy that seeks to stimulate economic growth and create employment. We are all for this, and it is very possible. Junior Masaudu says if we stop the unnecessary attacking and criticism on the policy and try to ask relevant questions on how to practicalize it, it will be more than feasible. Then Ambassador Take says nothing feasible. It's already working in Ghana. What Ghanaians want is for the government to construct more factories, and such factories will work 24 hours a day to create more jobs. But relying on the already existing factories to work 24 hours is not a feasible policy. And this is where I break with Kofi Bento coming in again. He says it will be useful to hear the proponents define what they mean by 24-hour economy. If they do, we will all realize that we already have most of that. What is missing is a deliberate policy, an effort to build that up even more. I am supportive of higher productivity and 24 hours of work, but I am weary of politicians making unprocessed promises leading to expensive failures like Commander Sugar Factory and bad implementation of the free SHS. I insist that if we don't improve the system for supervising daytime work, we will just pay people to go and sleep at night. Well, already we are paying people to sit in the offices doing nothing. Let's hear Dr. Ba of the TUC, and then I'll just take just 2 minutes comments from my guests in the studio to wrap up this discussion.
We are also very interested, and we are eager to know a lot more about his great idea of a 24-hour economy. I think this one, comrade, you have to take your time. Because I can imagine the amount of jobs that this kind of thing will create. That could be the game changer. I'm telling you that you have opportunities in this country. We work 24 hours, 3 shifts. So if you don't get a job in the morning, you can get it in the afternoon or in the night. So where are the young people? Get ready for jobs.
You heard the TUC speaking directly to former President Mahama on that plan. Yes, Kweku.
Yeah.
I haven't heard everybody else.
Yes, I was just going to say that I haven't heard everyone. I think everybody is saying the same thing, that this is something that we have to take seriously and see how we can make this work. What President Mahama said is basically the high level, of this policy. The meat is actually is in the details. And that is what my friends need to be patient and wait for the details. Yes, it may not be, it's something that is being done elsewhere. But the issue here is that, and again, I refer to this 22 or 23 items that we've talked about here. Dr. Theo Achampon did say that, look, we may not be able to create demand, but we can induce it. And that's exactly what I said, that we can induce demand. And you can see it right here. I mean, if all these things we import into the country hasn't got a demand, it will not find its way here. The fact that we are importing them itself has induced the demand. So if we want to ban the importation of these things, then we need to be producing that import substitution products that are here. And doing that means that businesses, new ones, are going to be working long hours. They are going to be employing more people. Then the other things about security, the lights, Nana Kumia is talking about, can be the things that we need to be able to put these measures in place to be able to address. And I see them as opportunity rather than to talk about chumbas and all that. Look, if a factory, and that is where the focus is, manufacturing, all these things, we are not manufacturing them sufficient enough here, and that we are bringing in more from outside, are things that are going to help us to work more, to do this 24-hour shift of, say, 3 shifts, to employ more people. And that is what we need to be looking at. These are opportunities. What they see as challenges, President Mahama sees them, or what Dr. Baumia sees them as challenges. For President Mahama, they are opportunities. And those are the things you can't have a father of, digitalization, as he calls himself, who really doesn't seem to, forget about even the economics talk. This is just pretty much common sense.
Okay, thank you. Nana Kumia.
Samson, nobody has said that if you put in policies that would enhance business activity, it is a bad idea. Nobody has said so. What we are saying...
The Vice President said this was poorly thought through.
Yeah. Because the 24-hour economy, as pronounced, already exists. It's not anything somebody's going to bring from somewhere and introduce into Ghana. And that is the impression John Mahama gave, that he's going to bring something that is not there. We are saying it is there. What you have to do is continue to deliver government services in quantity and in efficiency, and it will generate economic opportunity. Look, you talked about, somebody said you disagree because you can induce demand. Why? There's always a demand for improved life. As we sit here, if somebody brings a device that can improve the way you do your program, you would buy it. It's technology. You understand? So there's always, look, when we put in a new runway and lights at Kumasi Airport, all of a sudden, we're able to travel in the night. You're able to go to Kumasi in the day and do your funeral and do your meetings and come back in the night. Simply because we put up lights at Kumasi Airport. We've enhanced the delivery of a public service. That is what we are saying. That is already there. What you need to do is enhance it. The digitalization that is going on, the police improvement that is going on, the electricity provision that is going on, and the cost of all of these things enhance economic opportunities, they promote economic activity, and people will respond. So if there's no 24 hours somewhere, it means that the conditions there have not created it. Somebody will close the pharmacy at 7, not because they don't want money, but it's because the conditions there, the location, and all of that. Look, when you are operating a pharmacy at what do you call this place on the Spintex? Oh, there's this big supermarket at the Spintex where the interchange is. Palace. If you're operating a pharmacy or a restaurant at Palace, you are likely to operate more hours than if you're operating a pharmacy on my road. You see, because the economic opportunity is there. Now, what the Nimue, I think you got somebody, my brother there on the other side got Nimue. Nimue is saying that, from what I understand, that the finance minister is endorsing the 24-hour idea, and that he claims it's a night economy. It's got many mentions of the night economy. This budget was written way before President Mahama made his statement. So to say that
it's always possible to do an amendment.
No, but when I saw this thing in the budget, when I saw this, when we went to our pre-budget hearings as A and so on, when I saw this item in the budget, it predates Mahama. Okay. So for Nimue to be given the impression that...
All right.
So my conclusion is that, Samson, nobody is saying that bringing something that will enhance economic activity is bad. But to come to tell us as if it's some new thing that you are bringing is what we have the difficulty. That there are many aspects of this economy that operate 24 hours. I gave you the example of Tudu. Not just my terminal at Tudu, but the entire Tudu area. The people who are selling wache, the people who are selling shares, they all operate 24 hours because of the conditions there.
It's only fair that I go back to Dr. Theo Champong, also having heard the commentary that I've read, and my guests in the studio, the 2 minutes that they have also added. If you can also give us 2 minutes of your concluding remarks, and how we should be looking at this going into the electioneering campaign proper in 2024. What should we citizens and also the media do to ensure that, the insult fest, as I talk about, the mundane and the obviously unattainable promises that we hear, we can hold these campaigners to what is feasible and not just mere talk to win votes?
I indicated earlier, number one, I fully support the idea. It is laudable. We must all help, in a sense, fine-tune it and make it sort of implementable in that regard. And that goes to the heart of the question that you're asking. For me, I think from what we have seen over the last 7 to 10 years, we need to push our politicians to be much more forthcoming in terms of the details and the rigor of some of the policies that they are planning or proposing to implement. I think, of course, the manifestos are yet to come out, and the parties are even yet to select their running mates. So it sets up a very interesting 2024 to look forward to. But one last quick point on this, which I think for me is also interesting from the political stance, which is that it comes across to me that this particular policy proposal, the 24-hour policy proposal, has taken the MPP by a bit of a surprise, if for want of a better word, and therefore you're getting this pushback, right, from the outside. And some of the commentary I have seen and heard is not even necessarily about, let's look at the merits or not of the policy, but it looks as though just because it is coming from the NDC, then it's a bad idea. And I think that is not the way to go, especially going into 2024 and in an election where we want to present the citizenry with proper options or policy options that are costed and policy options that are implementable within a specific sort of time period in that matter. So I'm looking forward to, of course, more of the details and how this would work. And like I indicated, importantly, what we're going to do to address those constraints, the killer taxes, the killer electricity bills, and all those things that ultimately hinder or could hinder us from attaining the objectives of this 24/7 economy that cuts across all strata. And particularly for me, I'm interested in the manufacturing component bit. The entertainment night economy, yes, is important.
Right.
But where we are with the issue of jobless growth and the issue of many youth leaving school and not having things to do, I think that we should push for, of course, some of the details. But as a first step, it's a very laudable idea.
Thank you very much. I've still got many of your messages coming in. The next discussion about banning of Yemuadie will take care of some of these other comments that you are making, because it dovetails, I think, appropriately into that subject as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I was going to take one second to say something Nana said about what is it called? About this 24-hour thing being already there.
Yes.
I mean, free education was already there. And you came with what is it called? Free education now.
Yeah.
Okay? 1D, 1F. Industrialization policy was already there.
Yeah.
And then what did you do? You came and you say 1D, 1F.
No.
So what is the difference?
You are wrong.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
I found it extremely appalling that a member of this House could threaten a sitting, a competent, and the legally elected deputy speaker, a second deputy speaker of the House. I find it atrocious. It is in bad taste. Who is he appealing to? They have no say in whether Allah is laid in this House or not. No one, not even with respect to the Speaker. The Speaker has absolutely no right.
My way insurance, my way,
Hi, my name is Nanama McBrown, and I want to encourage you to dial *165# on MTN to join the My Way family. My Way provides you and a selected family member a cover against death. As a policy holder, you will also have a cover against total permanent disability and hospitalization should you be hospitalized for more than 2 nights. Dial *165# and join the family. Sanya My Way. No way.
My Way is a product of My Life and MTN Momo. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, Charlie, close the window small. Your room be too bright, oh.
Why, you be vampire where you know they like sunlight?
Oh, my guy, my eyes. Behind the PC problem. In the sun problem. Common light bulb stuff.
This no matter. I beg go Robert and Sons. Oh, yeah. Then my chick to him, I know correct. Where Robert and Sons sort them out sharp. Now, so stylish frames in the wrong.
We go Robert and Sons right in. No, I was sitting inside proper.
For over 25 years, Robert & Sons continues to provide specialist eye care for both adults and children. Locate us at Adabraka, Adenta, Kumasi, Usudankwa, Tema, Weja, and East Legon. Call 050-151-9111. Robert & Sons, seeing is believing.
Job is done. Turn your home and business into an internet highway and experience the revolution of working and playing without limits. Visit broadband.mtn.com.gh to sign up for MTN Fiber for home and business today.
With them, they are DSU. Actually, as I can introduce DBS Lifestyle Gauge Trusses amount. They say, baby, I say, Yama minimum aircraft the day. And you know, you dance. And no crow, no sending near Benina, and your papa. So, DBS Lifestyle Gauge Trusses, they're the computer not generated. Into Ed Nadine goes for a straight. And if it's a Nadinti, they want to mean the enemy. A good answer, I feel we need to. Mom is so done. more musisi factories and I said that is Biano. Me recommend DBS trust amamo. DBS trust. We need to.
Welcome to German Ozone Medical Center, the pioneer of ozone therapy clinics in Ghana and West Africa.
If you are dealing with conditions like diabetes, diabetic ulcers, stroke, arthritis, bodily or skeletal pain, viral infections, and more, we invite you to explore the advanced complementary therapy. Rediscover your true self through our facial microneedling sauna for detoxification, bringing forth the radiant glow you've always dreamed of.
For exceptional dental health solutions, we offer services such as digital Hollywood zirconia smile, clear aligner treatment, implant, and digital dentistry. At the German Ozone Medical Center, our dedicated and friendly team of professionals are committed in providing you with unique and top-notch dental experience. Call us on 055-024-2222 or 055-025-2222.
Before Ogun, the god of fire, I stand on oath.
It's the biggest play in the history of African theater.
Is it not ignorance that makes the rats attack the cats?
This December,
there are kings and there are kings.
Image Bureau, in partnership with April Communications and the National Theatre, presents
Odewale, King, son of Ogundele.
Olawutimi's theatrical masterpiece, The Gods Are Not to Blame, goes live Saturday 2nd and Sunday 3rd December at the National Theatre. On stage, David Donto, Mauli Semevo, Fred Amugi, Andrew Tando Adote, Na Ashoko, and a lot more. Tickets are selling now for only 150 cedis at Nalem stores, Airport Shell, Starbites, Pinkberry, and Frankie's Osu. Go digital at www.imagebureaugh.com or dial *711*11*25#. Supported by Niplan's Car Rentals, Ghana Tourism Authority, IPMC, our media partners, and proudly brought to you by Ebony Condoms and Stanbic Bank.
Because all lizards lie prostrate. How can one tell which lizard suffers from belly?
Forward, if you want to import rice, sugar, diapers, poultry, and a number of items, approximately 22 selected items, you will need to go to the Ministry of Trade and Industry and to see a committee that will be constituted by the minister before a permit will be given to you. This, I think, is a dangerous practice. It has happened before in this country. And you recall that in 1967, a commission of inquiry was established. Justice Olenu's committee was established. And that committee was to identify the corruption and malpractices relating to import licenses. The report was clear that that practice is outmoded and it cannot be continued because people use it for the purposes of rent seeking. This government is taking us back to 1967 once again, President Akufo-Addo. I'm worried that a time will come, if you are not an MPP member, you will not even get a license to import something to this economy. That is unacceptable. Ghana is a member of the World Trade Organization. This practice, the World Trade Organization frowns upon it, and it's a clear violation of the practices of world trade and international trade, and it should not happen. We are urging His Excellency the President to have a rethink, because this is not a policy that we should encourage, and they have to withdraw it. In fact, we in the NDC will criticize it and will do whatever it takes. But the only problem we have is that the Constitution places a limitation on us. because it is an ally, and it will mean that it can be laid without us having any major input.
If I heard the member who moved the quorum, Honorable Agaga, we have 28 here and 13 on the majority side. 28 members on the minority side and 30 members on the majority side. And we are going ahead to lay an instrument of such magnitude with this courage. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the Right Honorable himself, sensing the collective wisdom of the House, indicated that we should not lay the instrument until the two sides of the leadership or have consulted and briefing. Mr. Speaker, have you received that briefing? Has the Speaker told you that the leadership have informed him that this is their position on it? Mr. Speaker, it will be a very great disservice if the Right Honorable Speaker comes on Monday to be told that the decision or indication that he gave in his absence, the Speaker, it was turned answered down by you. We are going to lay an instrument to control and restrict import, which will go against the WTO conventions, making a passionate appeal to the police leadership and to your good self. We must not ambush the Speaker in this way. He has utmost trust in you and has given the seat to you. We must not treat him this way. I end my case, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. So in Parliament, there was heated argument over whether this should be put in and for it to mature at the due date as required by law, or it should not. So let me begin with, again, Kessel, I said Kessel, Ricketts Hagen. Yes. How did it end? How did it end?
Well, it ended by not allowing the minister to actually lay, because we had some concerns, and we had discussed those concerns with him. But he was still insistent that he needed to lay that because he was trying to beat this 21 days. You see, but the issue for me was not even about whether we had a quorum or not. The issue was that what he was trying to lay was problematic, and the timing was not right. All of us, we've been talking about this for years, that we need to be able to produce some of the things or most of the things we produce and not be bringing them from outside. It's making it difficult for local producers to be able to.
So why don't you support him to lay it, and then after 21 days this has become law, and we use it to stop all of this importation of all of this yama yama?
Like that. We don't have the capacity. The things he had listed here, we don't actually have the capacity at the moment to produce these things for us to be self-sufficient.
Okay, therefore, I understand we have a little issue with your microphone, so okay. I will come back to you. Before I get to Akomia, I'd like to bring in Dr. Thierry Champong. But gentlemen, I want you to listen to this. It's important. About 11 months ago, I interviewed, we decided to do a program about assets were made in Ghana, and we spoke to those in charge of production, manufacturing sector, and so on and so forth. And we learned, I learned very shockingly this. Listen to this.
As we speak now, we are not producing 1% of the total imports into the country. If you look at EU data,
1%.
We are not producing 1% of the total imports into the country. Yes. If you look at EU data, you will see that for the past years, Ghana has been the leading importer of chicken from EU. And in 2021, about 227,903 metric tons of chicken were imported from EU alone in 2021. The data is there. Now, because it's alarming, US and Brazil are also contesting at the top that they are the highest exporter of chicken into the country. So, considering this fact, if EU, which is the third position, which is at the third position, brought 227,903 metric tons, and assuming the three countries brought the same figure, it gives you about 683,709 metric tons in 2021 alone. And we are not producing 1% of that figure. So, it means that, and it's so cheap that there's no way the local market can compete with them. Okay, let's go to US. Poultry has impacted US economy from the year, from 2012, it was $265 billion. 2014, it went up to $441 billion. 2016 was $643. And 2018, it was $739 billion. And out of that, you'll see that broiler production, they call it chicken. Chicken took about, I would say broiler. Broiler took about 75% of the total economic impact. Layer was about 6%, and turkey 18%. Now, it means that poultry is all about the broiler production. And this is where the EU and the Western world have taken over all the market by dumping their chicken on us at a very cheap price. My concern is that when you travel to any of the Western world, chicken is not as cheap as it is sold here when they bring it here. So I ask myself, what is the reason for that? That you've bought it, you've shipped it, you've paid duties on it, added your margin, and it's still very cheap, even from the country that you brought it. So it is very disturbing, and it has affected the poultry so much so that it has pushed all the poultry farmers to produce eggs. And now the challenging is seen all over. Poultry farmers in the country, about 80% are not in operation as we speak now.
Right, so 11 months ago, I engaged Mr. Jay here, who is an industry player and who is actually the head of the association. 1%, we don't produce 1% of the poultry we consume. What a shame. 80% of poultry farmers, they've gone out of business. They are now doing egg. So when we begin this way, that we are going to stop the importation, are we being realistic?
We are not, obviously. As you can see, 1%. How can you be realistic? You are not producing what you are banning. So the starting point for me would have been to incentivize those who produce these things, give them the necessary stimulus package and the support for them to be able to start producing these things and also to be competitive. And then you have some kind of a scaling down of stopping this importation while you basically increase the domestic, the domestic production. But if you don't do that, and you wake up one morning, a few weeks to Christmas, and you want to give people a miserable Christmas by coming and saying that, look, we are banning these things because we want to be able to produce it. What do you know it doesn't exist? One of the funny things that I even see...
So there's going to be a restriction on the importation, yes, not a ban.
Well, that is even the problematic. If we are serious as a country and we want to stop these things, then as we scale up domestically, then we'll put a total ban and we'll continue to scale up. But if you now give in to this corruption window of basically getting an import permit to be able to bring these things in. Who are those going to get those import permits and those who are not going to get it? This is where the problem is. And the minister has so much powers.
If you are going to need to import this selected strategic products, the permit that you need to apply for, you state your business name, your tax identification number, your headquarters address, your PO box, your telephone number, fax number, electronic email,
sounds
website.
Like something in the 60s.
What's wrong with that? Advance notification of plan to import selected strategic product. Product to be imported, you name it. Quantity to be imported in metric tons. Estimated value to be imported. Name and source of the supply. Location of source of supply. The grade of selected strategic product to be imported, if any. Then ownership and location of the business. You must state the name and the nationality of the owners, names of the directors and partners. Oh, interesting. Names and directors of the partners of the company that's going to. Why do you want to know them? Does that feed into why they are suspecting you want to give it to party people? Names of the directors of the partner, shareholders, percentage of owners, exact location of the business, number of employees, contact person, and so on. Why do you need this? You hold on, Nana Kumia. Why do you need all of this in those who will make the importation?
Samson, we agree with the principle, I'm sure. That all of us agree that we've become an import-dependent economy. And that is not the way to deliver prosperity to Ghanaians. And to correct that, we need to be producing a lot of these things that we import. When you import, you are creating jobs in other countries. When you produce in your country, you are creating jobs inside your country. Last year, 2022, the value of imports alone was $11.9 billion. So we need to take some corrective action. What is happening now is that the minister has proposed some corrective action. He's saying that we need to restrict the importation of about 23 items. There's one item there that I'm a little unsure about, sugar, because as far as I know, we don't have any productive capacity.
Okay, again, let's run through the items. Rice, guts, bladders and stomach of animals, poultry, animal and vegetable oil, margarine, fruit juices, soft drink, mineral water, noodles and pasta, ceramic tiles, corrugated paper and paperboard, mosquito coil and insecticide, soaps and detergents, motor cars, iron and steel, cement, polymers, plastic and plastic products, fish, sugar, clothing and apparel, biscuits, canned tomatoes, 22.
Yes. So the level of importation alone, over 11 billion, shows us that there's a huge domestic local market, which we are not meeting. The minister is proposing that we, as part of the measures to meet this big domestic market, we need to restrict the importation that is coming in. That is the principle. The minister needs to let us know how much productive capacity that we have on each of these 22 or 23 items. Rice, what is the demand? What is our productive capacity? What will be the effect of restriction on imports, on price? Poultry, what is it? Yamadia, stomach things. What is the capacity as against the demand? Can we meet it? Because if we don't meet it, prices will go up and people will suffer. The minister needs to convince stakeholders that we can limit these imports. Our productive capacity can meet the gap that will be filled, and it will create jobs and so on. And when I say stakeholders, Parliament is a key stakeholder because these measures have to go through Parliament. There may be difficulties with aspects of the minister's proposal. You know, some say the powers granted to the committee that can decide what should be imported and the quantities to be imported, those powers are too much. And the minister is at the center of it. And when you are refused the importation, you have to appeal to the minister who's at the center of this committee. And so, but those are things that can be refined. Unfortunately, the mode of an LI, which is a legislative instrument, does not seem to give Parliament the chance to do amendments.
That's right.
Yes. And so, and if you disagree with aspects of the LI, you need a 2/3 majority to say that no, we disagree, and then the LI will go. The NDC doesn't have a 2/3 majority. So essentially what they are saying is that we don't get a chance to refine these conditions and that the minister, the list of items, the modus operandi and all. We don't have a chance. And so we wouldn't even allow it to be laid. And so there's all this confusion.
So normally the approach is the institution that is sponsoring the LI. They deal with that institution, give all their inputs, and then they bring an LI that is favorable to everybody. Then it goes in for the 21
to everybody.
days.
So it seems, and so what you've done is go around this problem of LI. But if it's an act, then when it comes to Parliament, there will be public hearings, there will be 3-4 stages: first reading, second reading, third reading, and all of that. So it gives Parliament a chance to modify it. With the LI, it doesn't give Parliament a chance. The rules say you lay it, if you disagree, vote by 2/3. You don't have 2/3. So that is the problem. And they've tried to go around it by having what you call the pre-something conference, pre-laying conference.
Yeah.
At the pre-laying conference, the minister would justify the issues presented in the airline, issues about capacity, issues about pricing, issues about the restriction and all of that. You obviously haven't gotten that opportunity. We should be able to go back. For me personally, I believe that because it's so close to Christmas, even if we get this done, it will be after, because 21 days would take us through December anyway. Yeah. But we should go back. Stakeholders who believe they haven't been consulted and they have an input, let's engage them, including Parliament, including the minister gives the impression that there has been extensive consultation. They've consulted traders, they've consulted the manufacturers, they've consulted customs people, everybody. But then people are coming out to say, we don't know about it, we disagree, particularly the traders in the form of GUTA, the Ghana Union of Trade. The manufacturers, I'm sure, are quite happy because it presents opportunity for them to operate 24 hours. But the traders believe that they may be shortchanged and all their business can be affected if there is no local capacity and all of that. Let's engage everybody else. And some of these things, the engagement should be public. So that if GUTA is being engaged, it should be, the ministry should pay for some coverage by Joy FM or something. So we can see the engagement that is going on and
they have a concern about the committee that is to be set up, which is the Selected Strategic Product Import Permit Committee. This is the representation of the committee. Who constitutes the committee? The Ministry of Trade and Industry. You must be somebody, a representative from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, not below the rank of a deputy minister as chairperson, nominated by the minister. So a deputy minister will chair it. A representative of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, not below the rank of a director, nominated by the minister responsible for food and agriculture. Then 3, a representative of the Ministry of Finance, not below the rank of a director, nominated by the minister responsible for finance. 4, a representative of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, not below the rank of a director, nominated by the minister responsible for employment and labor relations. The ministry, a representative of the Ministry of Interior, also not below the rank of a director. A representative of the Bank of Ghana, not below the rank of a director. The governor will nominate that person. a representative of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, not below the rank of a director, so it's a place where you have directors. The representative of the Food and Drugs Authority, also of a director status. A representative of the Ghana International Trade Commission, also not below the rank of a director. The representative of the Association of Ghana Industries, and finally, a representative of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
The traders are not there?
The minister shall appoint the members of the Import Permit Committee.
Okay. So there has been an issue raised with the committee that if you are not careful, you are just going to create an opportunity for the committee members to enrich themselves, and that they would engage in crony capitalism, where you have to know people there. So instead of looking at the issues objectively, they will look at it on who you know basis, lobbying, and all of that. These are genuine fears. We've had instances in this country where import regimes were set up, and they became an avenue for rent seeking. Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's genuine, but we need to engage to see how we can improve it. Because we agree that the level of importation into this country, and the gentleman that you spoke to earlier was even talking about dumping. Dumping is the killer. It kills your country. You go and buy this pen that I'm holding for $1 in China, where it is produced. I'm just saying China. I don't know where is this pen produced. So $1 in China. Then you come and sell it at 50 cents in Ghana. After you've packaged it, shipped it from China or wherever, paid duty, added your margin, you are selling it at 50 cents. When is selling $1 in China? So clearly what it means is that it is being subsidized. And that is what they call dumping. And so it is to prevent somebody from setting up a pen manufacturing company in this country, because you cannot compete. Because the Chinese government is subsidizing the Chinese company, and they are selling it at 50 cents in Ghana when they are selling it at $1 in China. So they are subsidized. And that will kill, nobody will set up a pen factory. You know, they will import pen from China. And these things cannot continue. So the principle is there. The way that it has been proposed, if there's a problem, let's look at it. Let's not poo-poo it. And like I said, you need to be able to show that the electricity is available if companies are going to ramp up production to meet this 11 billion import bill in all these 22 items. You need to show that electricity is available. You need to show that credit is available. You need to show that, look, a simple thing like traffic congestion can create 24-hour economy. There was one company that produces Blue Skies. They were having major problems initially because traffic where they are to the airport, and you know you must have this cold chain. So the traffic, so the minister at that time, my senior brother Kwame Nabatels, gave them police escorts so that when their vans are coming from the factory to the airport, they don't spend 3 hours in traffic. And that changed dramatically their cost of operation. So, you know, these things, and these are the things that create 24-hour economy, not their fiat.
Right. Let me go to.
Let's look at it. Let Parliament, let the minister take it easy, engage Parliament, go back, because this thing, the impact, the potential impact on Ghanaian industry and the Ghana is so huge that if there's a little problem about consultation, let's take our time, go back. Engage everybody else again, because we are on the same side on this. I mean, no political party or no organization is happy that we are such an import-dependent economy. And if this 11.9 billion that we imported last year, if even we can produce about 6-7 billion of it, look at the impact on jobs and our GDP. So let's not throw the baby away with the bathwater.
Okay.
Because we all agree that this can be a game changer. We've all cried about it. Every party manifesto has talked about capturing the heights of the economy. Every party manifesto. This we know would help. there are difficulties with the committee, there are difficulties, the assurances have not been total. Let's go back and so we can move on this.
So Nana, my final question to you is, you heard the national chairman of the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers. That is Mr. Victor Opongweje, and he said that about 80% of poultry farmers in Ghana are not in operation. They have turned to looking to eggs, and we don't produce 1% of the poultry that we consume. Don't you think it's problematic to approach this the way the ministry is going?
It will be problematic if the ministry has no plans. I mean, why is it that we are producing only 2% of poultry demand? Maybe there are issues with feed. Maybe there are issues with veterinary services. Maybe there are issues with processing. Maybe there are issues with the cold storage. Papaya alone would take about 300,000 birds a month. Why is it not taking it from the local people? Maybe there are issues with weight. The ministry has to go down to the poultry level, see how we can solve the problem of feed, the problem of packaging, the cold storage, the problem of weight, the problem of veterinary. The ministry needs to give that assurance. But this interview was about 2 years ago.
No, that's 11 months ago.
11 months ago,
yeah.
And if you spoke to him today and he still says that they haven't been engaged in meeting the constraints, then of course there's a problem.
So that a major part of his concern was the cheapness of the import.
The dumping. Now, clearly, if we can demonstrate that a pound of chicken is selling for €1 in Europe and is selling for 40, when from Euro, what do you come to? Cents?
Yes,
cents. It's selling for 40 cents in Ghana. It means it is being dumped. The Ghanaian government, the Ghanaian people are being cheated. And so that one, you need a quick corrective measure to impose tariffs, to raise the price to at least above what is being sold in Europe. But to do that, you also need to address your local capacity issues.
Interestingly, questions of local capacity, the feeding program, school feeding program, the poultry farmers were happy that they were providing the policy of an egg
created a demand for
so. There was a demand. Then suddenly,
you let them operate 24 hours.
Then suddenly, some, government people felt that it was good to give a contract to somebody to go and bring some canned thing from China.
Canned what?
And they wrote on it either freeze SHS or something. It was funny.
To substitute for the eggs.
Exactly.
Oh, but that's a national issue.
It was funny.
That should be corrected. If what you are saying is true, that's a national issue.
That was criminal, in fact.
I don't know if what you are saying is true.
Oh, they who
was giving the contract?
They did press conferences.
Really?
They said their business was collapsing.
Did you hear about it in Parliament?
That policy.
You heard about it? Yeah, and you did nothing?
No. You said
the things that they should do, they don't do it.
Apparently, yes. Apparently,
why did I hear about it?
Apparently, it was just one man, one person who had been given the opportunity to bring this import.
I don't.
And it collapsed their one egg a day.
That an economy that is being participated in by thousands of Ghanaian poultry farmers can be wiped off in favor of one person. Are you sure?
And there was an injunction.
Are you sure?
There was an injunction.
And the Parliament didn't do anything about it. The opposition didn't do anything about it.
Those who cook for their schools, they were supposed to rely on the local economy. Right there, the community.
Yes.
For their supplies. Yes. Let's hear you.
Yeah. Can I? My mic went off when
you destroyed it.
And I think Nana himself hit it right on the nail. In fact, I think that's the only thing I probably will agree with you this morning.
Yeah, because you've closed your mind.
It's when the minister came with all this, precisely the same questions we were asking him. That look, how much work have you done on all these things that you are going to you want to ban? What data do you have in terms of how much of this are we producing here and how much of this is coming from outside? And where is the capacity? If we should, close the doors in bringing these things in, how are we going to survive in terms of prices and all that? Because these things are going to lead into, and rightly, is this a right policy with about a month to Christmas? It's going to create a lot of problems. So, Minister, let's take our time, go through this, provide us a data on where we stand on all this, so that we can fashion our proper ally, that will be scaling up local production and be shutting the door. There are issues about incentives that we have talked about here. There are subsidies that are being given to other markets for people to bring things here. What can we do, even if we shall allow certain things to come in? What can you do to be able to compete? If they get these subsidies and are able to sell to us here at those ridiculous prices, they are presumably still making profit.
Yeah, so what would be your alternative? The question of dumping. You impose taxes, heftier taxes, so they can bring them in?
First and foremost, if you are producing enough for the domestic market, then that's when you are going to be able to shut these people out. It's not about imposing higher taxes, and they're always going to find a way to do these things. You see, giving a room in the policy for certain things to operate basically leads to corruption. And that's exactly what we are trying to do here at the moment, where you have this. I am totally opposed to this permit that is being given, and the minister becomes a super minister in charge of all this. If he doesn't give it to you and you want to appeal, you have to come back to him. Look at the structure of the committee that has been set up. And doesn't it surprise you that doesn't include Guta? Guta, the principal stakeholder.
No, they are not
in this.
The manufacturers.
Well, we're talking about. They are the ones.
They have to be there, but they are not the principal stakeholders.
Well,
they trade.
Yeah, they
so
trade.
if the product is
we are talking about trading matters here.
They trade. If the product is made available, they don't care where it is coming from. Once they have it,
let me make your point. I don't think what you're saying will fly.
I'm making my point.
So basically, even to an extent, probably you will have to invite the AGI. If you want to make this a broad-based thing, because then you have the manufacturers, you have the traders in. Because at the end of the day, you don't even want the kind of
you think they should come in the form of an act where it will generate broader consultation and participation?
Well, it should come in a form of practical, sensible policy.
I'm saying because it's coming the airline.
But the AGI, you mentioned the AGI. The AGI is a member.
Oh, the AGI is there. Yes. But the Guta is not there.
Ghana Association of Industries.
Guta is not there.
There's a Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. No Guta is there.
I remember.
Guta is not there.
I remember specifically when having a meeting with a minister mentioning Guta. But I won't go into.
So you had meetings with the minister on this?
Yes. We were just on the corridor when he was trying to.
I thought you.
Yeah, there was earlier meetings with leadership, but when he was coming to lay this,
do you think if it comes from an act, it would ensure broader
the LI is being passed on the strength of an act, a 1995 Import Act.
Which says what?
That's what gives the minister the power to make LIs to regulate imports.
So can we amend the act to include many of these things? Because I'm looking at a situation where the consultation will be broader, the stakeholder participation will be enhanced. Because the problem now is that it seems stakeholder participation has not been broad enough. There's lack of information. They are claiming there's lack of information. In fact, I heard one person.
So you can do so without necessarily.
I heard one person in the beverages industry was saying, "This is wicked."
At the end of the day,
soft drinks.
If you let me have my time.
All right.
At the end of the day,
having a discussion.
Okay. All right. I will just make my point without going back into what saying. At the end of the day, all these things that we are talking about makes this ally a premature. That the timing is not actually good for this. We don't know. We agree the principle, everything. But it has to be done in a way that will be sustainable. But at the moment as it is, if we present this in 21 days, since it's an ally, we can look at this act thing you are talking about. Since it's an ally, we cannot have the input that really needs to go into this for this to be sustainable. And the corruption, the endemic corruption that will come out of this, nobody will be able to control it. It's not a matter of KT Hammond or NPP being in government. If this thing is put out there for any government in the future, for any minister who will get this powers to be able to do the things that we are proposing here, then that will become a challenge. Nana, this is an opportunity that leads straight into 24-hour economy. Because for us to be able to move from 1% of poultry,
so you agree it is not new
to where we should get to.
It's not new.
Forget about its newness and all that. We want you on board. We want Baumia on board to understand exactly what this whole thing is.
Let me go to.
Let me go. Doing things that enhance 24 hours.
Can I finish on this, please? All these things that we have here, straight away, you see the opportunity of why we need to increase manufacturing or producing of these things. These are import substitution. So all the things that we have here, if we are producing them here in Ghana, we are going to increase working hours. We will have more factories or whatever they produce this thing. We'll have more people working. This is what we're looking at.
Dr. Tia Champong, Dr. Tia Champong,
laws.
Right.
To cure this.
There are people who say, as for the politicians, they have their genuine fears because they know that a majority of the big importers are politicians, so to speak, and that there is the potential, and that's the NDC has not shied away from that there's a potential that such a committee will favor a particular regime because these are the people who will also fund the party in elections and so on and so forth. What should we be looking at in this discussion? This, which I say, is a discussion or a policy we should have had many decades ago and not today.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm following the conversation keenly. I mean, first off, for me, I don't support a ban. I think it actually would defeat the purpose or the intent of that policy. I think that there are better tools that one can actually use if you want to support your local industry to meet that demand.
So like I corrected Ricketts Hagan, it's restriction, not a ban, so that the ministers' committee will determine who gets license, permits to bring in how many of those products.
Yeah, but in essence, the restriction is still going to work out as though it was a ban. So, I mean, it's a question of semantics. But
it's correct to an extent because if you went ahead without the permit, you could go to jail for 1 year, you pay fines of so much.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the committee itself, the composition and all of that, for me, is problematic, right? We have had instances in our own industrial and economic history. You can go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, where we attempted things like this in the past. And what actually ended up happening was having more corruption, as others have said, more rent seeking, and people ultimately lining their pockets, which ends up defeating the purpose of the policy. So we need to go back. Again, the policy or this restriction, if you attempt to go by that, even some of the protocols that we've signed, with the WTO, even the IMF and all of that, it could possibly contravene some of those, international conditions and protocols that we've signed up to. The fundamental thing or the root cause is, why is it that our local companies are not able to produce to meet that demand? And that's where I think we've got to, again, address our minds to. So if you put in a restriction or a ban and you don't address the supply side constraint and all of that, you actually end up driving more inflation. It's actually going to be inflationary because people still want those things, and it ends up defeating the whole purpose. So let me take you quickly to paragraph 395 of the 2024 budget. And this is where the government talks about its medium-term growth strategy and what it wants to do to sort of reverse some of these things. It says that the growth strategy seeks to support the implementation of interventions that one, increase our capacity to produce, deepen value chain arrangements, facilitate and modernize storage, and increase the shelf life of jobs, and then it leads to job, food security and resilience, etc. But I just want to highlight one of the first points there, which is really a question of how do you increase the capacity to produce? You get my point? To the point that it is one, competitive, and you are able to then meet a part of that demand. You are giving the example of poultry. There's a table in the budget again, table 29, which shows the priority commodities and targets that the government has for this. If you take poultry, the statistic that you've got in there, I think is the first line in that table, we are only meeting 5% of the national demand, right? So in other words, 95% is still coming in by way of imports. And by 2023, 2024, the expectation is that you move this thing up to about 20% of the demand. So if you even impose a restriction and your local people are still, according to the government's own projections, only going to do about 20% of the demand, then where is that extra 80 going to come from? You are still going to end up actually causing a much worse or deeper problem than you're trying to correct. The same thing with tomato. You can see again in that table. In tomato 2022, the national demand was about 1.3 million tons. Local production is 468,000, right? Tons. So again, you are meeting only about 40% of that market. So if you try to impose these restrictions, while you don't fundamentally address the issue of the capacity to produce, that many of our firms are not able to compete. One, the dumping factor is there, but also you have internal factors that are constraining them. So you've got issue of killer taxes, you've got issue of high cost. They go to the bank, they have to borrow, and you're talking 35% plus interest rates. Whereas the person in Europe or some other place is getting this from the bank at 2%, 5%, even 10%. There's no way that your local industry will be able to compete on that basis. So what I think that we've got to do, for me, is to go back and perhaps if you even want to restrict it, you have to pace it over a certain period. Number two, we have to address the issue of this local capacity and then the availability of substitutes, right, for people to change or to have from one form or the other. If you take poultry is like the cheapest protein for many households in Ghana. It's become almost like core to their livelihoods and all of that. So you impose a restriction, the local market cannot meet it because even by your own estimate, they're only going to be able to do about 25% of that.
Right.
You end up having to drive up inflation. Look at the inflation basket. A bigger chunk of it is coming by way of food inflation. And that, again, is something that, in my view, we cannot address this policy with it in a rather sort of...
There's an economist who suggests that we could, to avoid the dumping situation that we have raised also, and how, because dumping means these goods are so cheap and we all run to them instead of the local produce, the government can impose heavy taxes on these imports and use the revenue directly to support local producers.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the trade policy tools that is available under even, the WTO protocols that often you use tax policy tools so you can hike up or increase the tariffs at the ports, or you can even use other what we call non-trade barriers. And the Europeans actually use this a lot against us if you want to even export things like mangoes and things where they say your banana or mango is not a particular size, it's not this and it's not that, and therefore you cannot bring it into the market. So he's very right on that. But that is only, in my view, a temporary measure. The more sustainable medium to long-term measure comes back to what you have to do to increase the local capacity to produce. So if your poultry farmers cannot get feed, if your poultry farmers don't have substitute for maize or the bran, and they still have to, again, spend millions of dollars or cedis to still import these things in, and they have to pay extraordinarily high cost on those things, then it doesn't matter the restrictions that you impose. You're still going to have an issue where it's actually going to end up, again, driving inflation. And my worry is the committee, just a quick one to land. On the committee, we've seen this in the past. There's a potential for catalyzation, there's a potential for monopolies to be created, and this ultimately creates more inefficiencies, and we end up being the worst for it as a country. So the policy needs a real.
Let me go to John Awuni, and he's Executive Chairman, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG. So we understand you are not excited as this. The consultation we are told about extensive. Were you not involved? Why are you not excited that there will be opportunity for local production rather than importation? These days, the sort of soft drinks, juices you see on the market from abroad, some of them are responsible for our bad health. Hello, John. Please unmute your mic.
Thank you very much, Samson, and good morning to my senior brothers in the studio. I want to begin by saying that I would have really been very excited as an expert in the industry if I clearly knew that Ghana has the capacity to produce the products they are seeking to restrict. If I knew that Ghana had already prepared on the ground, so to say, we have food stocks in our buffer zones, rice, chicken, and all the like, that we can direct those who are trading in those goods to go there and then buy. I would have really been very excited because this is our country, and no country can really continue to develop on relying on foreign goods. But this is not the case, Samson. Over 20 years as a consultant, researcher, direct business person in the field, I don't see us being prepared for this. What I see clearly, and the minister displayed that on the floor of Parliament yesterday in his statement. The Honorable Katie Hammond, standing up to make a presentation in Parliament, talked about the fact that he did economics at A level or what level, and then he got a score of 38 over 40, and yet he will not do presentations like the way the minority leader does. Then he went further to say, and that's what he really hit me and which Ghanaians should really pay attention to. That look, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm a British trained lawyer, so when it comes to law, don't get there. This is somebody seeking to promote Ghanaian products, yet he's not even confident that by his statement that Ghanaian lawyers are better than British or equal to British. He said, if it comes to law, don't even get there. I'm a British trained lawyer. You're on your feet, trying to convince your fellow citizens to patronize locally produced goods, local lawyers, local doctors, local rice, local chicken, local fruit juice. Yet you cannot boast that you are a Ghanaian trained lawyer, but he said you are a British trained lawyer. Nobody should get there. So it tells me that the man himself talking about is not convicted about it. And I heard the minority talking about it, that in the 1967 Jesse Olunio report, what happened, and there was corruption about, and they're all rent seeking. Fine, 1967, maybe some people were not yet born. As recent as the NDC era, it happens. for chicken restrictions, and any importer that had to import chicken had to go and take quotas from the ministry. The players in the industry, they know what happens. They know what, so it is real. And the NDC, who, let me say, are the crocodiles in the water, they are coming out to tell you that it will create corruption. Why wouldn't the government listen? Why wouldn't they know? I see this phenomena seeking to create pure monopoly or oligopoly. Samson, this is very wrong because you are dealing with a phenomenon at a time where Ghanaian poultry farmers are looking for day-old chickens to buy. If today Holland refuses to sell day-old chickens to Ghanaian farmers, if today Morocco refuses to sell day-old chickens to Ghanaian poultry farmers, the poultry industry would have died. Let the ministry or the minister present to Ghanaians the kind of mechanism that he has set up for poultry, for rice, for tin tomatoes, and for sugar, largely the food products, that when this system is implemented as his ration, the Ghanaian consumer will not be affected. The issue of talking about dumping, I disagree so strongly, Samson. It's not about dumping. If your system is inefficient and you are producing your products at a very high cost, you don't call other people who are efficient their products as dumping. Why will cable metal cost twice of turkey cable, which is also equally good? Why will local chicken, 10 kilos, cost about 1,000 cedis compared to imported chicken that comes with a heavy tax as much as 65% and sometimes 100% taxes on them, cost at 360 cedis for 10 kilos? Why will a bag of rice landed cost at 400 cedis, at the retail end 700 cedis, 750 cedis? Cost at that much. Imported local rice. I was the president of Ghana Rice in the profession for almost 8 years. In the early 2000s. Nowhere in this country have I not been to. I am not speaking theory. I am speaking on the ground, and let anybody who also said he is well versed put data aside, put documents aside. Let's go on the practical. Let's go and answer why IPO farmers are not doing well. Let's go and answer why Botanga farmers are not doing well. Dowenya, the Kong, and then Afife. Let's answer why. Let the minister on the floor of parliament answer why GATCO, when they came and set up their rice plant at Sogapope, myself and the late Emisata went and commissioned that project. Why did GATCO fail? Why did Finatrade fail in promoting local produce? Like I was handling that project as a Ghanaian, and I was so passionate about it. Because I am not in the studio, but if I were in the studio, I'll present to you documents, signed documents with ICO, with Botanga, with Dowenya, where we advance monies to these farmers to produce, and afterwards they will sell those rice to the companies. After that, after they have produced, they say they will not sell the rice. They've sold it to other parties, and then they now return your money to you. The issue of the Ghanaian product is a complicated one. It's an attitudinal one. Even it has now extended to the issue of our labor front, that now we prefer to even employ Togolese boys for our POP, for our construction work through Ghanaians. The issue of rice production in this country has to do a lot with production constraints, Samson. The minister that he's seeking to promote locally produced rice, what brand of local produced rice is he seeking to promote? What category? You have different rice produced in Aveime, different rice produced in Icon, different rice produced by as many farmers as we have. They are producing different varieties. How has he codified those varieties, standardized those varieties that can allow a commercial market to go and buy those products and then sell?
But ultimately, you agree that we need to move away from an import-driven economy. And so we must start from somewhere, correct?
If I were the Minister of Agri or Minister of Trade, where I will start with something, clearly, good question. Where I will start with will be, number one, I will make sure that I ensure that the local poultry producers produce efficiently, that a local bet of about 1 kilo or 1.2 kilo shouldn't cost 130 cedis, which you, Samson, and myself cannot afford on our table throughout the month. I will ensure that these products are produced at affordable cost, number one. Number two, I will make sure that I get these goods stored in a particular buffer stock at the warehouse. Huge quantities, Samson. Like, I wanted to implement that system this year. I would have started 2019, Samson.
As we understand, John, in Nigeria, how many millions of citizens? There was one Ghanaian, I brought him to this studio early in the year 2, Abraham Odum. He was used to bring a revolution to agriculture in terms of rice production in Nigeria, so that where they were importing 80-90% of rice, they came to a point of importing less than 10% or so, or was it 18% or 8% of rice? Nigeria. It took one Ghanaian and a deliberate policy using the Central Bank of Nigeria to bring about that kind of revolution. Oils and the rest of them.
You are right, Samson. You are right, Samson. That's what I was getting to. That if I were the Minister of Agri, over the years, I was part of the Honorable Kodesh Bashiga system, and clearly we were able to achieve that 30-40% rice import reduction through some policies that we did. The school feeding program, government invested institutions buying locally produced rice were part of the system that we instituted.
Okay.
But move forward. What I will have done, Samson, is that let me get these goods stored up in the buffer stock. Samson, me and you are like, we are from the village. The old lady in our village knows that fresh millet is not as good as old millet. Fresh corn is not as good as old corn. Fresh rice is not as good. So you cannot produce rice from the farm come February and bring it to the Ghanaian farmer, the Ghanaian consumer to consume, or millet. It is wrong. So technically, this food should have been stored like 2019, 2020. Kiosks. Then you now say that importers, those who are importing, those who are traders, let's come together. Let's do a meeting. I'm having a meeting with you. I have 1 million tons of locally produced rice or chicken in this warehouse. I want each and every one of you to commit to selling it. Every quarter or every month, file to me, Minister of Finance, Minister of Trade, Minister of Agri, your returns on the sales of locally produced rice. In return, this is what I will do. A company that is found out to support this for some couple of years after several warnings will be ruled out of the market.
All right.
But not to come out with such a system to seek to use law to direct the invisible hand of the market.
Can't you do this at the same time whilst you are stocking, and then you begin the policy at the same time? It doesn't work?
Samson, you cannot do that, because as you are saying, in 21 months' time, and 21 days' time, this has become law. No, clearly as it has become law, what then happens? It's a government that has not prepared on the ground. And what they are seeking now to do is going to push prices up.
All right.
You clearly have
were you not consulted?
Samson, the Food and Beverages Association is the biggest stakeholder in this, not even to talk about Buta when it comes to maybe some of the other products, but when it comes to food products, we are the people who deal with the economy. No, Buta are traders. Buta buy from the food and
were you consulted, John? And
distributed. I wasn't part of any meeting. I'm not aware. Even in the studio, as you are talking about, everybody's talking about include Buta. The major players that are in there have not been included. And in the past, due to my expertise in this industry, former ministers used to invite me to be part. In 2001, the Honorable Kodesh Bashiga called me. When it came to Honorable Kwesi Ahoy, he invited me. Akumbo, he invited. So I've been part of because of my expertise.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. John, thank you very much for your insights. And there's a professor in the United States who says the last import restriction law created the cheat system, hoarding, profiteering, and bottom power, collectively called Kalabule. Do you remember? He says, the year. I suppose you know who he's talking once he signs off with the year. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is News File.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Number 1 from here, 2 and 3 from here, 5 and 6 from here, for now. Now, I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What?
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief, fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Life is good today, but tomorrow may be different. You don't have to keep working or depend on your children during old age to live comfortably. When you level up, remember that things can change. You don't have to depend on others if an accident leaves you permanently disabled. You have an expectation of a comfortable life during retirement. We hope it doesn't happen, but a booming business can sometimes decline. You want to be there every moment for your loved ones. But tomorrow is not guaranteed. But with SNIT, you can secure your future no matter the work you do. Register and sign up for Seed from SNIT for old age pension, invalidity pension, and survivor's lump sum benefit for your dependents. Take control of your future. Ayodachio, Fano Pass now. Contact SNIT for more inquiries. SNIT, we deliver on our promise. T's and C's apply.
This tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow. It has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Yay! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
We are back
bringing you the latest lineup from Betway. Betway starts strong with their front two, with Free Play Friday and Swipe Bet. In the middle, you've got all the control with Cash Out and Build a Bet. Plus, with Win Boost, you can boost your sports bets. At the back, they have Smart Picks and the partial daily jackpot.
You always get way more with Betway.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfire, the most authoritative news analysis platform. My guest, Dr. Theo Echampong, economist and political risk analyst. Kweku George Ricketts Hagan is MP, Cape Coast South, and former Deputy Finance Minister. Nana Akumia is member, New Patriotic Party Communications. John Awune is executive Chairman, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. Share a few of your messages with you, and then I'll take just a minute's wrap. Then we can save some 2 minutes each for the Speaker's Bungalow matter, whether it is an attempted sale that's been botched or it was a false alarm. We have heard of civil servants, doctors, and several other people who say they will be living in their bungalows, and suddenly some developer will come and say, we are supposed to move you out. I remember not too long ago, there was this judge who private developers asked him to move out of his residence. He didn't seem to bother because he knew that was a state property that he was occupying. And they started demolishing and rebuilding right in his face. Then he had no option than to move. This one says the imposition of import restriction are very insufficient ways of supporting the domestic firms, and this is confirmed in the trade literature. What we need is to estimate our domestic capacity, and then we use non-tariff measures to control the shortage that can't be produced here. That is how to do it. We should not repeat the mistakes of the past. Support the domestic firms to be competitive before you restrict. Bad policy being considered now. What is being tabled by the minister is ill-informed and will cause more price increases. It will mask the inefficiencies of our domestic producers who I am setting are inefficient because of the high cost of business environment they operate in. That policy is laughable. I mean, how? Ghana should use trade and other policy to reduce the cost of trading and business in Ghana. Once our domestic firms are efficient, we can then estimate their capacity, and then the rest we can use non-tariff measures to restrict the imports. And these are the thoughts of Professor Ebo Texan of the University of Ghana Economics Department. Do you realize that the committee, there's no some academic, economist on it? Interesting, right? This one says, some of the messages, please, let's be decent about them. That's what we are doing. We're looking at how to develop. A basic understanding of economics will show that the ban or restriction policy will only lead to high prices and corruption, and citizens will suffer. All government needs is to ensure that all schools and government entities, example, army, police, and so on, only use local produce. That alone will generate more than enough demand for the local producers. That's how to start self-sufficiency. That's from Kofi Bentel. Buffalo, and Buffalo is a big guy who supplies us tires. He says that it is really sad the way we sometimes do things in this country. If we ban the poultry importation now, how do we feed our populace? What stops the government from engaging our poultry farmers and helping them to be able to produce enough for their populace? It's really sad the way we treat our own. I am an entrepreneur and I know how you suffer to let your business grow in Ghana here. God save us. Kwame Frimpong, aka Buffalo. Thanks for your message. Mark in the US of A says, me thinks it's a way of making our ministers as powerful as the French do. Ministers in Francophone countries have that kind of authority. This is not so in the Anglophone countries and must be looked at again. I thought the do-fear-sem concept was started by the NDC. It shouldn't be only in international affairs. We must grow and produce what we eat. Our time is running out, but you have interesting messages that I wish I can share even more. Frank Addison says, we signed economic partnership agreement with the EU to open up our market for European goods and services. Can we really ban imports without reviewing the EPA? That's also a good question. There are many more of you with your messages. This show is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN, everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years. Duraplus, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. My Way, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. That's smart insurance. Syntex tanks, it's strong, it's tough, and Flamingo paints, simply superior. Snitch Seed, that's self-employed enrollment drive. You don't have to work in government or some formal system to contribute to SNIT and save for old age or later. It's your future, so own it. Hubtel is everything you and Doormasters are also proud sponsors of your most authoritative news analysis platform, Newsfile. We've got only 5 minutes. We can't talk about the speaker's mansion, can we? The speaker's residence, redevelopment sort of policy now leading to people being removed from their homes like that. We are not supporting the people who are working for us. What's going on? Yes, what do you have to say about the speaker's issue?
Well, I think that we know what is going on in this country, or what we are hearing of government lands, being sold left, right, left, and center.
It's not an issue of today.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a while, but I think the level at which it's being done now, it's probably much higher than it's been in the past. That's why it's become a bit of an, it's become a bit alarming. I mean, we are talking about the speaker here. I was at the speaker's breakfast meeting. I'm not sure whether the sale had gone through or was about, but I think from what I understood from what the speaker said, there was a search that was going on, which means that obviously somebody has approached the authorities.
So somebody was doing due diligence to take over the property, sort of.
But for that to happen, you must have spoken with the authorities that you are interested, and then you are doing your own search to see, because they would have probably told you that, yes, we will do that deal if you want to, but then the responsibility is on you to go and do your own search.
Right.
In that process is when the speaker got a hint of it. So I don't know whether that is a sale or a pre-sale or whatever it was, but I think the issue you did mention, civil servant military officers are here, senior officers, properties being, people are doing search on them and all that, property developers. Who is actually giving these people this kind of opportunity?
So should the speaker hear of a rumor and throw all of us into that rumor? Because it appears that's what he
I think he was referring to something. I think it was done in perspective. You will have to listen to the whole thing. But then the media always want, a sensational story. So this, I think, sell newspapers, and in these days, I don't even know how many people buy newspapers. But then it gets people to open their computers and their phones. So I guess that's what happened. But
so the Works and Housing Ministry says, look, we are not in a position to even sell the Speaker's residence to start with. Then the Lands Commission also come to say the Speaker's house is not on sale to a private developer, and the Speaker says, I didn't say it has been sold.
Yes, exactly.
What do you make of what the Speaker?
Well, Samson, clearly the supposed sale of the Speaker's residence is a case of a mistaken location. Yes, because obviously nobody in their right mind, whether the buyer or the seller, would attempt to sell the official residence of the Speaker of Parliament. So for it to even happen means there's a mistaken location. Somebody saw the building and saw the surrounding buildings have been sold and developed according to the plan, and said, oh, but this one is left. And then started making inquiries and so on. Then got to know that, oh, this is not part of it. But the policy of Accra redevelopment, which has led to some of these sales of prime land in Accra and so on, which was introduced in 1999, I remember, the Accra redevelopment plan. Obviously, the implementation needs a review for purposes of transparency, so that this kind of thing doesn't even happen, that somebody will go and mistake a property like the Speaker's and attempt to go and buy it or sell it.
There are doctors who are serving us, and we just heard out of the blue they are in their building in Kumasi. They complained about it not too long ago, that some private developer has come. He says the property has been given to them, and they are just being ejected like that.
Obviously the implementation needs a review, and I believe Parliament should take the lead in getting all the parties together and try and review the process to achieve better accountability and transparency. Once there is not, rent seeking will come in, and you have this kind of cases. My second small point is that there's something happening with this sale of land and properties. That will close out of time. The history. These buildings are part of the history of architecture in this country.
Okay.
We should, when you go to some of these places where they have 50-story buildings.
We have to make time. We have to make time and return to the issue. We have run out of time. Okay. Thank you very much. And you have been listening to Nana Komia, member of the NPP's communication, Kweku Ricketts-Hagan, former Deputy Minister, MP Cape Coast South, and also Dr. Theo Champong, a political risk analyst. He's an economist as well, and John Awuni also joined us as well. Tomorrow, Sunday, 2 p.m., join me on the law. And you know, in the law, once in a while, we're able to bring you judges to help you understand certain things a lot better. This time, the judiciary has generously given us one of its very best at the Supreme Court. That is His Lordship Justice Emmanuel Yoni Kolendi. He joins me tomorrow on the law.